Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens of controlled chaos, sovereigns of psychological warfare, renegades who learned long ago that survival is an art and dominance is a science, welcome back to the arena you were never supposed to escape. Today, we are not here to celebrate some minor victory or half-hearted transformation. Today we are here because you did something none of them, not the critics, not the pretenders, not the self-appointed gatekeepers of ambition, ever imagined you'd pull off. You didn't join their precious little game, you mastered it. You didn't walk into the city, you took it hostage. And now the whole damn skyline is trembling because you're shutting down the entire ecosystem with a move so precise, so surgical, so uncomfortably brilliant that the architects of the system don't know whether to admire you or file a complaint with the universe for allowing you to exist. Let me ask you something. Do you feel that pulse? That voltage humming beneath your ribs like you swallowed a power plant? That's not adrenaline. That's the sensation of someone who realized, finally, unapologetically, that the rules were written by cowards who never expected a mind like yours to show up. Most people wander through life hoping the game will treat them kindly. They pray for opportunities, beg for validation, plead for someone to hand them permission slips to be great. Meanwhile, you watched all of that nonsense unfold with the kind of stillness predators have before impact. You studied the grid, you learned the angles, you tracked the patterns, you observed how the city breathes, how the system manipulates, how the weak cling to illusions, and then you rewired the entire blueprint behind their backs. And that's what terrifies them. Because you didn't come in swinging wildly, or announcing your intentions like some theatrical villain desperate for attention. No, you moved like a shadow, with a doctorate in strategy. You walked in quietly, looked the game dead in the eye, and said, "Oh, this? I thought it would be harder." And the moment you did, the system shuddered. Because systems don't fear rebels. Systems fear masters. Systems fear the one person who stops participating. Systems fear the one player who realizes the board only exists because they keep showing up to move pieces around. You see, the city was designed to contain dreamers, not unleash them. It was built like a psychological labyrinth, mirrors to confuse you, detours to distract you, sirens to seduce you into complacency. Most people run through it blindfolded, bumping into walls, calling it destiny. But you memorized the maze. You identified every false exit. You spotted every trap disguised as a reward. While the others got drunk on the illusion of progress, you dissected the structure until you found the weakness that nobody, not even the self-proclaimed masterminds, noticed. And once you found it, you didn't expose it. You didn't warn them. You didn't negotiate with the system. You grabbed that weak point like a handle and pulled the entire city into your grip. That's why everything's shutting down. Not because you're trying to cause destruction, but because the foundation wasn't strong enough to withstand someone who actually sees the truth. When power meets clarity, collapse is not rebellion, it's inevitability. Think about this. Every empire, every structure, every hierarchy eventually faces a single question. What happens when someone refuses to play by the psychological script? And right now, the city is facing that question because of you. They designed this environment for predictable minds, for citizens who follow instructions, for souls content with tiny victories and carefully rationed achievements. They didn't anticipate someone who would decode the machine, break into the control room, and sit down in the operator's seat like it always belonged to them. You didn't just level up. You evolved out of the game's jurisdiction, And here's the beautiful part. You didn't do it out of rage, or desperation, or spite. You did it because your spirit outgrew the old architecture. There comes a moment when the cage stops feeling like imprisonment and starts feeling like irritation. A moment when the mask you wore to survive becomes too tight. A moment when you realize the game isn't challenging enough to contain your intelligence anymore. And that moment, that snapping point of internal clarity, is exactly what turned you into the threat the city whispers about now. Let me paint this picture for you. The game wasn't scared when you started. It wasn't scared when you failed. It wasn't scared when you struggled, crumbled, rebuilt, restructured, and rose again. The game was scared when you stopped needing it. Because once you detach emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, the game loses its influence. You stop responding to bait. You stop reacting to distractions. You stop participating in performances designed to keep you predictable. And once predictability dies, power shifts. That's when you became the problem the city can't solve. You're not just shutting down the city in the dramatic, apocalyptic narrative sense. You're shutting it down psychologically. You're pulling the plug on every system that depended on your compliance. The moment someone with your potential stops absorbing the city's illusions, the matrix flickers, the machine overheats, the guards panic, the manipulators lose their script, because everything they built was designed for a version of you who no longer exists. The city is not collapsing because you attacked it. It's collapsing because you outgrew it. This is the part that rattles them the hardest. You didn't dominate the game by force. You dominated it through comprehension. Understanding is the final form of power. Once you understand something deeply enough, you can dismantle it without breaking a sweat. You can bend its rules without effort. You can slip between its gears like smoke and short-circuit the entire engine. They think you're being reckless, but you're being inevitable. Picture the skyline flickering. Picture the traffic freezing mid-movement. Picture boardrooms going silent. Picture manipulators losing control over the very people they used to puppeteer. That's what happens when one person wakes up fully. Your awakening created a chain reaction, a systemic malfunction that the city wasn't designed to survive. The city depended on you being unaware of your own leverage. But awareness is a dangerous drug, and you overdosed intentionally. Let's go deeper. When you truly master the game, you stop fearing collapse because you realize collapse is a doorway, not a punishment. The old world falling apart is not chaos. It's clearance. It's space. It's demolition that makes room for a structure worthy of you. Most people cling to systems because they fear uncertainty. But you wield uncertainty like a conductor's baton. You turn unpredictability into an advantage. You treat disruption like oxygen. That's why the city can't handle you. You're not just breaking norms. You're redefining them. You're not bending rules. You're dissolving them. You're not escaping the system. You're rewriting the operating manual while the system watches helplessly. And let's not pretend this transformation was accidental. You earned this through pressure, through pain, through observation, through losses that were actually data, through experiences that taught you what the city tried to hide. Every time someone underestimated you, you collected the information. Every time someone dismissed you, you stored the pattern. Every time someone tried to limit you, you mapped the boundary. You used everything, every insult, every setback, every betrayal, as intelligence for a much bigger operation. You weren't growing, you were sharpening. So now the city watches you walk through its streets with a presence that interrupts gravity itself. You don't have to announce what you're doing. Your energy does the announcement for you. People sense that something has shifted, that someone has slipped out of the simulation and is now walking freely through its infrastructure. You don't just intimidate individuals, you intimidate systems. Your silence is louder than their authority. Your detachment is more dangerous than their surveillance. Your clarity is more lethal than their rules. And the funniest part, you didn't even come here to destroy anything. You came here to exist on your own terms. The destruction is simply the side effect of a power that refuses to shrink anymore. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that you no longer fit inside it. You're operating from an altitude where the city's laws can't reach you. And the higher you rise, the more the city destabilizes. Because the city relied on you being grounded, predictable, restrained. But you stepped into a psychological stratosphere where their limitations cannot breathe. You're not shutting down the city because you're angry. You're shutting it down because you're done pretending. You didn't join the game. You placed the entire city in checkmate without touching a single piece. Your existence is the move. Your evolution is the threat. Your awareness is the weapon. And now, the city watches helplessly as you dismantle everything they thought was permanent. And here's the part they will never admit out loud. They always sensed this moment was coming. Every time you outmaneuvered a situation you weren't supposed to survive, every time you walked away from a trap without a scratch, every time you saw through manipulation that was designed to blind entire groups, they felt it. They felt the system bending around you. They felt reality glitch slightly when you stepped into a room. They felt the game lose its grip the moment you stopped playing by instinct and started playing by insight. You didn't just rise, you shifted the gravitational field. And now everything in the city pulls toward you, shaking, recalibrating, panicking because the center of power is no longer where they placed it. Understand something. When you master a system built to suppress you, your ascent becomes a structural threat. Not because you're destroying anything deliberately, but because your presence forces truth into places designed to hide it. You expose the blueprint simply by existing. You illuminate the cracks without lifting a finger. You destabilize corruption by refusing to kneel. They built this city on illusions, money, status, hierarchy, fear, and you shattered every single one by doing what nobody expected, thinking clearly. Humans fear clarity more than chaos, because clarity destroys excuses. Clarity exposes the invisible chains. Clarity forces people to confront the role they played in their own imprisonment. And you walk with clarity like it's oxygen. That's why the city trembles. The citizens feel a shift in the atmosphere, something silent but undeniable. They look around and sense an invisible presence moving through the streets. Your presence, not loud, not theatrical, but sovereign. You don't need noise. You don't need a platform. You don't need a spotlight. Your aura alone is an announcement. The city knows when someone has stepped out of the simulation. When someone stops being predictable, the system starts dying. Because predictability is the oxygen the city breathes. And you suffocated it the moment you stopped responding to its illusions. This is what they never understood. The game isn't about winning. It's about outgrowing. Winning keeps you trapped inside the board, fighting for trophies designed to distract you. But outgrowing dissolves the board itself. You stopped chasing achievements and started chasing truth. You stopped seeking acceptance and started seeking alignment. You stopped performing for the crowd and started operating for your own evolution. That's when the game lost control of you. That's when you became the anomaly the system wasn't coded to contain. People think shutting down a city happens through riots, chaos, rebellion. But the real shutdown begins internally. The moment you reject the identities they forced on you. The moment you abandon the desires they planted in your mind. The moment you step outside the narratives they programmed into society. Everything collapses. The system relies on your agreement, your participation, your belief. Once you withdraw those, the machine stutters. When the main power source unplugs itself, the lights go out. You didn't destroy the city, you unplugged from it. Look back for a moment, not to dwell, but to witness the transformation. There was a time when the city convinced you that the game was bigger than you, that you were one small piece in a massive, unshakable structure. But now you see the truth. The structure was paper-thin. The walls were imaginary. The limitations were inherited, not chosen. The city wasn't powerful. You were just asleep. And once you woke up, the entire architecture lost its authority. When you strip illusions away, structures built on manipulation collapse instantly. You walk through those streets now like someone who knows the codes, the shortcuts, the blind spots. Like someone who understands every psychological trick the system uses to keep people chasing a life they don't want. And that's why people look at you differently. They can't put their finger on it, but they know something in your energy carries a warning. Not a threat, an inevitability. A quiet hum of, I don't belong to your script anymore. And people who don't belong to the script end up rewriting the story entirely. Do you realize what kind of power that is? To exist in a world that no longer has access to your mind. To walk through a system that can't manipulate you anymore. To observe the city's games unfolding and think, this is too easy. That level of psychological freedom turns you into a phenomenon. You become unpredictable, ungovernable, uncontainable. The city can't track you because your decisions no longer come from fear or validation. They come from sovereignty. And sovereignty is terrifying to any structure built on obedience. You didn't just take the city hostage, you took the narrative hostage. The game depended on you believing you needed it. Once you stopped believing that lie, the game crumbled like a forgotten prophecy. The people who once felt superior now study you like a puzzle. The ones who dismissed you now watch your every move. The ones who underestimated you now feel something foreign in their chest whenever your name is mentioned. Discomfort. Because your rise forces them to confront their stagnation. Your transformation shines a light on the places they refused to grow. But here's the twist. The city's panic isn't about you rising too fast. It's about you rising too intelligently. Anyone can climb. Very few evolve. And evolution is what terrifies the architects of the system. They designed the city to reward effort, not awareness. But awareness creates a kind of dominance no system can manage. When you see the truth behind the curtain, the puppeteer loses their power. When you understand the mechanics of control, the controller becomes irrelevant. When you become conscious of your own role in the structure collapses. Right now, you're walking through a reality that's cracking under the weight of who you've become. Opportunities bending toward you. People rearranging themselves around your presence. Old obstacles dissolving because they no longer match your frequency. The city feels like it's shrinking because you've expanded beyond its scale. You're too large for a map designed for small minds. Too aware for a system built on distraction. Too awakened for a world that thrives on sleep. And the city can feel it in ways words can't describe. Energy shifts. People hush when you enter. Conversations pause. Assumptions break, patterns malfunction. You're not a character in their story anymore. You're the variable that ruins the equation, the force that destabilizes every structure built on the assumption that you'd remain ordinary. The city expected resistance. It expected rebellion. It never expected evolution, because evolution cannot be stopped. Evolution does not negotiate. Evolution does not bow. That's why the shutdown is happening faster than they can understand. You're no longer feeding energy into the system. You're no longer contributing to its illusions. You're no longer participating in the rituals that keep everyone trapped. Your withdrawal is their downfall. You are the missing piece that held everything together. Now that piece is gone. The city is collapsing under its own artificial weight. Your absence is the shutdown. Your awareness is the blackout. Your transformation is the hostage situation. And the best part, you haven't even begun to apply pressure yet. You're only stepping into your new altitude. The air is cold, but it's clean. The perspective is sharp. From up here, you don't just see the city, you see through it. You see the cracks, the flaws, the hypocrisy, the hollow centers. And you know with a certainty that borders on prophecy that you're not here to restore anything. You're here to redefine everything. Not with violence, but with presence. Not with chaos, but with clarity. Not with force, but with truth. Because when truth enters a system built on deception, collapse is not aggression, it is physics. And collapse is exactly what's unfolding now, silently, beautifully, inevitably, as the city struggles to breathe in the new atmosphere you created simply by rising. This is the moment where your mastery stops being an internal shift and becomes a gravitational law. You're no longer a participant inside the city's framework. You've become the axis the city now orbits around, without understanding why its own seasons are changing. People who once walked with confidence now hesitate because they sense a rebalancing of power that no announcement, no headline, no broadcast could ever articulate. You're not shutting down the city by force. The city is shutting itself down under the weight of your awakened presence. Systems aren't collapsing because you attacked them. They're collapsing because you outgrew them so completely that their foundations can no longer accommodate your magnitude. You walk through the world now with an aura that twists the psychological landscape. Streetlights feel dimmer next to you. Conversations feel quieter in your proximity. Rooms feel smaller when you enter because you've eclipsed the mental boundaries that once trapped you. The city doesn't know what to do with someone who operates from altitude, someone who doesn't play for approval, someone who doesn't chase validation, someone who doesn't bow to fear. The city was engineered to handle rebels, activists, competitors, but it wasn't built to handle someone who simply transcends. You didn't break their rules, you made them irrelevant. And that irrelevance is what terrifies them. They built entire infrastructures based on the assumption that people would remain predictable, malleable, eager to obey. But now you stand here like a walking contradiction to everything the system counted on. You're not reacting emotionally. You're not bargaining for position. You're not fighting for rank. You're not scrambling for approval. You're moving with the detached confidence of someone who already won before the game even started. And when someone carries that type of internal certainty, the entire environment begins adjusting itself around their frequency. This is where most people misunderstand power. They think it's about assertion, dominance, aggression. But real power is atmospheric. Real power is silent. Real power alters reality simply by existing inside it. You've become that type of phenomenon. an unspoken equation the city is desperately trying to solve. They don't understand how you dismantled the game without participating in it. They don't understand how you took the entire city hostage without making a single demand. They don't understand how someone can rise without seeking permission. But that's because they've never witnessed what true autonomy looks like. You're not controlled by the external world anymore. You're sculpting it. Look around. Really look. Do you notice how different the city feels now? Not physically, but energetically. People look over their shoulders more. Authorities double-check decisions. Influential figures hesitate longer before speaking. It's because your presence has become a psychological event. You're not threatening them. Your very existence forces them to confront their own limitations. It reminds them that mastery is possible, and that the game they worshipped was a tiny arena compared to the battlefield you're operating on. Your transformation exposes the truth they never wanted to acknowledge. The city isn't powerful. The city is fragile, and you proved it by walking beyond its illusions like they were cobwebs. You took the city hostage the moment you realized you didn't need it. Because dependence is what fuels systems. When you withdrew your dependence, you withdrew the city's power supply. The city feels empty now because you stopped feeding it. It feels unstable because you stopped supporting it. It feels threatened because you stopped believing in the myths that kept everyone compliant. The city never feared losing control of you. It feared you realizing you were never controlled in the first place. This is the psychological takeover that happens when someone reaches your level. You stop chasing goals and start embodying inevitability. You stop running after opportunities and start creating gravitational pulls. You stop fighting battles and start choosing landscapes. You stop negotiating with the world and start directing it, not because you force it, but because your internal authority becomes irrefutable. Mastery isn't loud. Mastery isn't dramatic. Mastery is the moment the world sees you and instinctively recalibrates its expectations. They're recalibrating right now. The city is rewriting its assumptions in real time because your existence invalidates its previous calculations. People who once dismissed you now hesitate before making a move, afraid you see something they don't. People who once felt superior now shrink under the weight of your silence. People who once played with you now treat you like a variable they can't afford to misinterpret. That's what happens when someone rises into their higher identity. They don't need to speak. They become the atmosphere itself. And that's exactly why the city is shutting down. Entire systems built on arrogance and assumption are realizing they were never the architects. They were placeholders. You are the architect now. You are the blueprint. You are the rupture in the simulation. And whether the city wants to accept it or not, everything is reorganizing around you because you changed the frequency on which the game operates. Understand this deeply. When someone like you awakens, the city doesn't just lose power, it loses direction. The system depended on guiding you. Now it waits for you. Every eye that once looked down on you now looks up without knowing why. Every barrier that once felt insurmountable now crumbles before you arrive. Every whisper that once doubted you now repeats your name with caution. That's the psychological rearrangement mastery causes. You didn't take the city hostage physically, you took it hostage existentially, and yet you're still only getting started. This altitude you're stepping into is just the threshold. You're not flying yet. You're preparing. You're calibrating. You're shedding the final remnants of the identity that once tolerated limitations. You're aligning with who you were always meant to be, the version of you that the city hoped would never wake up. They didn't fear your ambition, they feared your clarity. Because ambition is something they can manipulate. But clarity is untouchable. Clarity is uncontrollable. Clarity is the moment the cage becomes transparent. And once you see the bars, you can't unsee them. You're moving differently now. You're thinking at velocities the city was never structured to handle. You've become a psychological supernova, quiet on the surface, catastrophic underneath. Not because you're destructive, but because everything around you was built on false assumptions. And truth is the most destabilizing force in existence. That's why your rise feels like an earthquake to everyone else. They're not responding to your actions. They're responding to your authenticity. They're not terrified of your power. They're terrified of what your power reveals about their weakness. But here's the irony they can't escape. Every time they try to understand you, they fall further behind. Because you're evolving at speeds that leave the city gasping. You're not walking the same blueprint anymore. You're transcending the need for blueprints entirely. You're not following the map, they're following your shadow. And they don't even realize it yet. Their panic isn't about losing control, it's about losing relevance. And as this shutdown accelerates, as the city's illusions flicker, as the old world gasps for breath, something new begins forming in the distance. Not chaos, not collapse, but reconstruction. A reconstruction orchestrated by someone who outgrew the game so completely that the only logical next step is to build an environment worthy of their altitude. This is the phase the city feared the most, because collapse can be explained away as an accident, or a temporary malfunction, or an unexpected chain reaction. But reconstruction announces intent. Reconstruction signals that you're not just tearing down the old. They now must confront the undeniable reality that you're building the new. A new framework, a new architecture, a new psychological law. And the architects of the old system have no seat at this table. They're spectators now, powerless to influence the direction of a world reshaping itself around someone they once underestimated. They hear the echo of their own arrogance coming back to haunt them, because they realize too late that the person they ignored is the very person rewriting the landscape they depend on to feel secure. You're no longer walking inside the city. You're walking above it, holding the strings that used to hold everyone else. But you're not using those strings to control, manipulate, or puppeteer. You're using those strings to dismantle the invisible machinery that kept people blind. You're cutting ropes that once tied you down and now bind others. You're clearing debris not for applause, but for alignment. Because your rise wasn't an accident, it was the natural consequence of someone refusing to live inside a shrinking box built by shrinking minds. And now that you've expanded beyond their reach, the city feels smaller, weaker, more artificial, like a stage prop collapsing when the protagonist steps off the script. Truth be told, you never belonged to their world. You tried, at first, to fit in. You tried to play by the rules, to follow their timelines, to entertain their expectations. You even tried shrinking parts of yourself just to avoid triggering their insecurities. But every step you took toward conformity felt like suffocation. Every compromise felt like betrayal. Every attempt to fit into their game made you more aware of how small the game actually was. And eventually, something inside you snapped, not in anger, but in certainty, in clarity, in inevitability. The moment you realized you were never meant to adapt to the city, was the moment the city sealed its fate. Because once a mind like yours stops conforming, it starts creating. And creation is far more dangerous than rebellion. Rebellion challenges the old. Creation replaces it. Creation doesn't ask permission. Creation doesn't wait for approval. Creation doesn't negotiate. Creation declares. The city was prepared to contain your rebellion. They had traps for rebels, distractions for rebels, punishments for rebels. What they didn't prepare for was your creation. You weren't trying to overthrow their system. You were outgrowing it so profoundly that overthrowing it became a natural side effect. The city thought you were coming for its throne, when in reality, its throne was never even on your map. Now look at what's happening. People who once laughed at your vision now whisper your name with caution. People who once doubted your potential now watch your every move with anticipation. People who once tried to block your path now find themselves standing on foundations that crumble the moment you take a step forward. Because your footsteps are not random. They carry weight, direction, consequence. Every decision you make sends shockwaves through systems built on outdated logic. Every boundary you break becomes a blueprint for someone waking up behind you. Every truth you embody becomes a torch for those stumbling through illusions. What rattles the city most is not the destruction, it's the influence. Influence that wasn't given to you by the system, but taken from the system through sheer alignment. Influence that wasn't bought, earned, or inherited, but forged in silence, solitude, and self-awareness. You don't influence because you try. You influence because you exist in a state of clarity that people can feel even before they understand it. And clarity is contagious. Clarity is disruptive. Clarity is a declaration of war against everything built on confusion. That's why the city trembles. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're illuminating the fact that it was always weak. Let's be honest, they always suspected you were different. But suspicion is manageable. Suspicion can be ignored. Suspicion can be dismissed. What they never prepared for was confirmation. Confirmation that you weren't just different. You were operating on a frequency that invalidates everything they believed about hierarchy, power, authority, and dominance. You're not the king of their board. You're the architect of a new board entirely. You're not the player disrupting their game. You're the one they build simulations to predict and still misread every time. Because no simulation can track someone who refuses to repeat patterns. And that refusal is what made you untouchable. The city shuts down because predictability is its lifeline. The moment someone operates outside the expected timeline, the entire infrastructure panics. They rely on patterns to maintain control. But your evolution erased your patterns. You're not who you were last year. You're not even who you were last week. You're shedding identities at a pace that leaves observers dizzy. They try to project your next move, but projection fails when someone is no longer reacting, they're creating. They try to analyze your motivations, but analysis fails when someone operates from instinct, sharpened by awareness. They try to contain your influence, but containment fails when your presence is no longer physical, it's atmospheric. This is what mastering the game truly means. The game loses its effect on you. You don't feel its rewards. You don't fear its punishments. You don't crave its recognition. You don't internalize its illusions. And a person without those attachments becomes impossible to manipulate. Your detachment is their downfall. They can't bribe you with things you don't desire. They can't threaten you with outcomes you've already transcended. They can't distract you with illusions you've already seen through. You didn't beat the game. You dissolved the game by refusing to recognize its authority. And with that dissolution comes reconstruction. A reconstruction built not from ego, vengeance, or rebellion, but from necessity. When the old world collapses, something must rise in its place, or the void becomes a breeding ground for chaos. But you're not leaving a void. You're sculpting a new order, one that reflects your clarity, your discipline, your internal sovereignty. A world where truth outweighs tradition, where awareness outranks authority, where authenticity dismantles hierarchy. This is not the utopian fantasy they preach about but never practice. This is a restructuring born from someone who understands the cost of illusions and refuses to let them rule anymore. You're crafting a new reality simply by embodying what the old reality feared. You're showing people that power doesn't come from position, it comes from perception. That dominance doesn't come from control, it comes from consciousness. That influence doesn't come from noise, it comes from presence. And presence is something the city can't manage, manipulate, or mute. Presence creates its own gravity. Presence demands its own space. Presence reorganizes environments before words are even spoken. And you've stepped into that level of presence, effortlessly, because your evolution demanded it. This is why the city now looks at you not as a citizen, but as an event, a phenomenon, a catalyst, a disruption they can't prepare for, plan around, or predict. You're not a part of their structure, you're the force altering their structure. You're the reason old systems are glitching, you're the reason old narratives are collapsing, you're the reason old leaders feel their influence thinning. When someone rises into their true identity, they inadvertently expose everyone still hiding behind masks. Your authenticity acts like a spotlight, making everyone else's performance painfully visible. And visibility is the downfall of every manipulator. They watch you now with the kind of awe they reserve for natural disasters, not because you're destructive, but because you're unstoppable. Because you move with inevitability, because you carry the energy of someone who refused to break and instead chose to transform. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to reveal everything, reveal the fragility of systems, reveal the weakness in hierarchies, reveal the emptiness of titles, reveal the illusions people depend on to feel important. You're not punishing them, you're awakening them, and that awakening is more disruptive than any form of revenge. But here's the truth they fear most. You're not even angry. Anger indicates attachment. Anger indicates investment. Anger indicates a desire to change the old world. But you're beyond that stage. You don't want to fix the old world. You want to build a new one. You want to construct a landscape where minds like yours don't have to shrink to survive. Where vision isn't mocked, where clarity isn't punished, where growth isn't feared. You're not destroying the city out of resentment. You're dismantling it out of irrelevance. The old world doesn't need to be hated. It needs to be retired. And retirement is exactly what you're granting it. A quiet, inevitable, irreversible retirement that happens naturally when someone outgrows the structure that once contained them. You're not shutting down the city out of rebellion. You're shutting it down because it cannot survive in an atmosphere of truth. You're not taking the city hostage physically, you're taking its illusion hostage, refusing to let it continue lying to the people who depend on it. They called you dangerous because they mistook honesty for hostility. But honesty is only hostile to people invested in deception. Right now, as your reconstruction begins, the world feels the tremors, the air shifts, the narrative changes. The energy tightens. People sense a breaking point approaching. Not a collapse, but a transformation so absolute that it redefines how reality must function. They sense a leader rising, not because you sought leadership, but because leadership is the natural consequence of someone who walks with clarity in a city addicted to confusion. You never wanted to take control. Control surrendered itself to you because it recognized authority in your stride. And that authority becomes the guiding pulse of this new world you're building. A world where people aren't shackled by illusions. A world where truth becomes currency. A world where awareness is strength. A world where identity is not dictated by the city but discovered within. This reconstruction isn't about creating a kingdom or a throne. It's about creating an ecosystem where you no longer need to shrink, and where others can finally breathe without fear of being crushed by expectations. The city doesn't understand this yet. They think your rise is a threat. They think your reconstruction is a takeover. They think your presence is a rebellion. But what you're doing is far simpler and far more profound. You're restoring balance. The balance that was stolen by systems built on suppression. The balance that was corrupted by egos addicted to power. The balance that can only return when someone strong enough to withstand truth becomes the foundation of a new environment. And that someone is you. You've mastered the game so thoroughly that its vocabulary no longer applies to you. Winning is too small. Success is too shallow. Dominance is too primitive. You're not interested in playing at all. You're interested in expanding, evolving, transcending. You're interested in creating spaces that match your altitude. You're interested in cultivating realities that match your clarity. You're interested in shaping a world that doesn't require you to dim your brilliance just to make others comfortable. This is what taking the city hostage truly means. Not physical force, not violent takeover, but psychological leadership so undeniable that the entire environment pauses to adjust itself around your presence. Not because you demanded authority, but because you became the only stable point in a collapsing world. The only one who sees clearly. The only one who operates from consciousness instead of confusion. The only one who mastered the game and then stepped beyond it. And now, as the old structures crumble and the new foundations begin forming beneath your feet, the city watches with a mixture of fear, awe, confusion, and reluctant admiration. Because deep down, beneath their defenses, beneath their denial, beneath their pride, they know the truth. You didn't just shut down the city. You didn't just dismantle the game. You didn't just take the system hostage. You became the system now. You became the axis. You became the one they study, follow, anticipate, avoid, admire, and fear all at once. You didn't join the game. You didn't beat the game. You didn't break the game. You became bigger than the game. And once someone becomes bigger than the game, the city has no choice but to bow. Not out of loyalty, but out of gravity. Your gravity, your altitude, your inevitability. This shutdown isn't an ending. It's the moment the city finally realizes who you've been becoming all along.